This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 780 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We have some pretty big news to lead off the day, as yesterday the National Credit Union Administration issued new guidelines stipulating how credit unions can now work with legal hemp businesses. Due to last year's Farm Bill legalizing industrial hemp, the NCUA had been asked recently by lawmakers to issue guidance on if and how credit unions can work with hemp businesses, and yesterday the federal agency gave the green light. Credit unions that do work with industrial hemp businesses still have to follow all the same rules in regards to reporting so-called suspicious activity and money laundering, but otherwise can treat them just like any other business banking customer. One of the more exciting points of yesterday's update is the fact that credit unions were also told they could lend money into the hemp industry. Give this one a read today. Kyle Yeager has all the details over at Marijuana Moment. Vice nabs story number 2 today with a must-read piece on Oregon and its supposed cannabis supply glut. I recently reported on data showing that the wholesale price of marijuana in the state has doubled over just the last few months, and Vice's piece seems to back up the premise that Oregon's market isn't quite as flooded with cheap marijuana as the state's data would lead you to believe. One of the best indicators of that is how prices are holding at the retail level, and by Vice's reporting, prices in Oregon for quality ounces of flower are holding around the $120 to $200 level. As one Portland dispensary manager put it, quote, "Pretty much all the cheap bud is gone," unquote. One of the interesting points in this storyline is the difference between how much marijuana the state claims is in its system and how much actual usable and sellable cannabis there actually is. Vice spoke to one cultivator who said that the lengthy process of officially destroying marijuana trim and waste moves a lot of farmers to bag it up to just deal with later. That would certainly throw off official estimates of the state's legal marijuana inventory. Don't not read this story. With a top headline bookend, Kyle's back with a pickup of a report issued yesterday by Pew Charitable Trusts looking at how marijuana taxation policy has paid off for some of the various states that have legalized marijuana so far. Cannabis policy reform is happening almost entirely on the state level, and each has so far installed its own custom systems with different tax types and rates applying to differently designed models, with the range between vertical integration and horizontal. Kyle plucked out a lot of good insight from the report, which includes plenty of well-designed charts. Pew's researchers warned in the report that states should make sure to understand the difference between short-term cannabis taxation revenue and what a long-term sustainable program might look like. Absolutely another one I'd read today. Those are top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Whatever your favorite legal cannabis consumption modality is, Ease is likely to have it, from good old-fashioned flower to the highest of high-tech vapes, with edibles and tinctures, topicals, and sprays as well. You can get flower by the gram, pre-roll singles, or even packs of pre-rolls. There are all kinds of vaporizers, as well as drinks and chocolates and gummies. Ease puts a lot of energy into making legal marijuana delivery easy, which you can discover for yourself directly over at ease.com, spelled E-A-Z-E. Big thanks to everyone at Ease for their long-running support of our show. All right, time for the Blitz. Canada legalized adult use marijuana last year at the national level and now has a large number of dispensaries selling cannabis all over the country. But as Science Magazine is reporting, scientists hoping to use marijuana in academic studies have been frustrated by the slow process by which their applications have been handled. Things are certainly easier for Canadian scientists hoping to conduct cannabis research than for their American peers, but even so, the process of getting applications considered and approved by Health Canada has reportedly dragged. Last month, CTV News covered the lagging application process, which prompted Health Canada to start issuing weekly updates on how many applicants have been approved and to seemingly lend more resources to that department. Canadian licensed marijuana producer Pharmacilo just completed its first shipment of CBD isolate to the Swiss market out of a facility the company owns and operates in the nation of Colombia. The batch also marks the first time that cannabis-derived isolates have been legally and commercially shipped from Colombia to Europe. Pharmacilo is in the process of acquiring Australian marijuana company Creso Pharma, which was on the receiving end of this first Colombia to Switzerland deal. This next headline is kind of unique in that Colorado-based Medicine Man Technologies just announced that it was spending just over $17 million to acquire one of the top edibles producers in the state, but stopped short of actually saying who. I've read this one 4 or 5 times just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, but it looks like for now, Medicine Man is keeping who they're buying close to the chest. I just haven't seen many acquisition announcements where one of the parties is kept under wraps. We don't touch often upon the world of cannabis stocks here on the Daily, mostly because I don't feel anywhere near qualified enough to really cover that scene. But the Growth Op has a good piece up that I think is worthy of a look, examining the general structure of the legal cannabis stock market right now. Marijuana stocks still seem to show a lot of inter-industry ties in terms of their price, with a good example being the recent news that Canadian marijuana giant Cannabis Growth had lost $1 billion in the most recent quarter, which depressed the entire cannabis stock sector nearly across the board. Another one odd pop open today. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Deschutes County, Oregon, located in the middle of the state, centered around the city of Bend, is imposing a moratorium on allowing new adult use marijuana applicants to apply for legal cannabis business licenses after county commissioners voted unanimously yesterday. The county will hold the process closed through next year when county voters will be asked their thoughts on the matter on the November ballot. Existing businesses are not impacted by the moratorium, nor are prospective medical applicants. Louisiana seems to be avoiding the supply issues so far that some medical cannabis states have experienced in their opening days, at least according to state officials who held a public meeting yesterday to give an update on how things have been going since the August 6th opening of Louisiana's first dispensary. The fact that Louisiana only has 5,000 registered patients is probably one of the bigger factors here, but however it falls, it's good to hear that patients aren't finding dispensary shelves empty. And finally for today, on Sunday, Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders released a proposed plan to reform the nation's criminal justice system that includes the legalization of marijuana, the expungement of past cannabis-related crimes, and a shift towards treating drug addiction as a mental health issue. One of the more forward-thinking proposals is the inclusion of safe injection rooms for IV drug users. Senator Sanders' plan is smart, fact-based, and worthy of a full read. Open this one up. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.